In 1991, millions of kids rushed to the arcade to spend their loose change on Street Fighter II. People quickly aligned themselves with their favorite fighters, eager to explore their unique movesets. But as kids often do, some dreamed of a different fighting game. Why does Chun-Li have to fight Chun-Li?
Round one, fight!
Why can't she fight, oh I don't know, Godzilla? UFS, or the Universal Fighting System trading card game, was built on this premise. Take a fighting game and have anyone fight anyone. All your favorite franchises were here, from Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat to Mega Man and Cowboy Bebop. The games survived 3 company changes and a rebrand to UniVersus, making it to its 20th anniversary. But some wonder if it's being shoved aside. The company behind it's taking a risk, placing all their bets on a newcomer to the scene, Riftbound. Will UniVersus go down without a fight? Or can they land one more combo? The actual game itself is mechanically one of the best games, but the company, UVS Games, doesn't know how to run a card game. It's honestly pretty sad. How they managed to snag Riftbound is beyond my understanding. Riot never should have given them a chance. They can't even handle their own game. Yeah, so people have a lot of passionate opinions about this game, but for good reason. People are usually passionate about the things they love. You have to do some things right as a company to keep a game alive, and UniVersus, as it's known today, is considered the longest running trading card game after the big 3 of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic the Gathering, depending on who you ask. If you tolerate multi-year gaps in development and production, then some would say Redemption, a Bible-based trading card game, is one of the oldest, hilariously, having been in production since 1995. If we're considering non-English card games, HKK, known as Wasteland TCG abroad, started in 1995 as well, when some mad lad wanted to bring magic to Hungary, but Wizards of the Coast wasn't interested. So he created his own, with blackjack and hookers. But if you consider English language trading card games with very minimal disruption, then UFS/UniVersus is a good bet for one of the longest running. I mean, it's lasted 20 years! No small feat for an industry riddled with corpses. All this despite a tumultuous history involving several different owners, a botched attempt to run the game by Fantasy Flight Games, a conversion into an exclusive My Hero Academia card game, and now the game's largest challenge yet, its parent company's focus on its prestigious new IP, League of Legends' Riftbound. The usual disclaimer: running a company is extremely difficult. Keeping a trading card game alive for 20 years and counting is a downright miracle. I'm not here to point and laugh at any screw-ups, especially considering the game is still running. We're here to highlight the difficulties that go into the making and maintenance of a trading card game. We'll dive into it all, but before we do, this episode is brought to you by my patrons who enjoy some nice bonus videos. And as always, my thanks to Vince Kai-chan for the incredible music. Links to everything in the description below. And if you like documentaries on trading card games, well, you're in the right place. I make a lot of them, and if you want to see more, just hit the little bell icon so you get notified whenever I post. It goes a long way to making sure I can continue to do this for you. All right, let's fight. UFS was birthed by Sabertooth Games, a part of the Games Workshop family, they of the very popular Warhammer series. The idea was to take a card game, base it on arcade fighting games, and infuse it with popular IPs from those same fighting games. It was UniVersus Beyond back when that was actually cool. So naturally, they had their pick of franchises to try to court for their new card game, and they landed on the heavy hitter Penny Arcade? I mean, sure, it was a popular webcomic at the time, but one based on video games and nerd culture doesn't exactly scream Mortal Kombat to me. That said, it's still in production from 1998 all the way till today, so it sort of fits the theme of long-running properties we've got going on. The Penny Arcade Battle Box released in early 2006 and exposed players to the game for the first time. But it was that April's releases of the Soul Calibur and Street Fighter sets that really cemented what UFS was all about. And true to Street Fighter's long-running joke, Chun-Li doesn't reveal her weight while all the other fighters do. Oh, and a reminder from UFS Games.
UFS has hundreds of characters you can build your deck around, ranging from Street Fighter, Soul Calibur, Darkstalkers, Tekken, and many more. And they're all cross-compatible, which means you can play Mega Man against any of the characters in UFS.
That kinda tells you how novel this idea of multiple IPs in one game was back in the day. They felt the need to tell you, hey, don't worry, you can play all of these different characters together. Now how those characters fight in paper form is kind of genius. They designed the game in such a way that if you grew up with fighting games, you'd understand how everything works. You start by selecting your character. Who determines the starting size of your hand and your health. You win by bringing your opponent's character's health down to 0. To do that, you must attack. Attack cards like kicks and punches are played from the hand. Just like a fighting game, each attack hits a zone. High, mid, or low. And just like a fighting game, you need to block your opponent's attacks. You play a card with a block modifier in the same zone to block the attack fully, or a different zone for partial damage. The resource system is an interesting one. Players have to pass what's called a control check to play their cards, by flipping over the top card of your deck and comparing its control value to the difficulty of your attack. If they're equal, it's played cost-free. If it's lower, the player can tap foundation cards or commit your character card to make up for the difference. If they don't, their combat phase ends. Flavor-wise, the system reminds me how in fighting games, some moves are more difficult or easier to pull off than others. If Kirby is attempting to pull off a series of punches in Super Smash Bros., he can do that all day without disruption. The trade-off being the damage is light. But Captain Falco takes a long time to warm up his Falcon Punch, leaving a window of time where he's exposed to potential damage. Of course, if he lands the punch, it's devastating. As an aside, can you believe that Nintendo disables the built-in video capture mechanism on the Switch 2 for some of their own games? How lame is that? At the end of a turn, you discard whatever cards you want to and draw up to your character's listed hand size. This ensures no matter what, come every new round, you always have something to play. The gameplay was a new and exciting way to punch your opponent in the face, metaphorically speaking. One of the coolest things that UFS did to reward players for that high skill level is the coolest prize in gaming. Seriously, that's what they called it. Winners of high-level tournaments got to design their own tournament legal custom cards based on their own likeness. But as strategic as the gameplay was and exciting as the IP crossovers were, it just wasn't enough for Sabretooth to hang on to the property. Early sets released at a rapid pace and came with balancing issues such as the infamous Void Trio Foundation cards that often ended the game on their own. But any gameplay issues that existed simply don't account for the financial crisis of 2008, and Games Workshop disbanded any divisions that weren't profitable, like Sabretooth Games. UFS might have been down, but not out. The rights to publish the game were purchased by another company looking to make a splash in the collectible card game market, Fantasy Flight Games. You may have heard of them, champions of the living card game, a distribution method where cards are released in full sets rather than randomized booster packs. But they also attempted to make a splash in the CCG world with UFS and other properties like Kingdom Hearts CCG. At the time, however, they were primarily a board game company, and they found their logistics of running a trading card game difficult. They released new Tekken and Soul Calibur sets and even dropped an original IP into the mix in Shadow War. What, you guys could only afford the 1W in the budget? The community felt that these sets, partially developed under the old owners, were rushed to market without the lengthy playtesting process that a trading card game requires. They also felt that FFG just sort of gave up after a year on the card game, citing difficulties with organized play and possibly their preference for their new and exciting living card game model. But while Fantasy Flight might have had no interest in continuing the project, a local game store and longtime player of UFS did. His name is Jason Horonsky, and he launched the company that would purchase the rights for the game to continue, UVS Games, who have watermarked all high-quality scans of their cards online. Thanks, guys. UVS had the long and arduous task of rebuilding the game's reputation, as local game stores weren't exactly chomping at the bit to get back into UFS. Which makes sense when the game had supposedly gone out of business twice in 2 years. I mean, who's lining up out the door to support a game that might just die quickly a third time? But UVS took their time, starting off slowly with a late December release of a Red Horizon themed set in 2010. From there, fans had to wait over a year, but eventually started to receive 2 to 3 releases a year covering a variety of different IPs. They even started to expand out of typical fighting game franchises, experimenting with the likes of Mega Man and Cowboy Bebop, foreshadowing a new direction experimenting with anime. After a 2-year COVID delay and an acquisition by POW Interactive, UVS Games returned with a brand new set and a brand new direction. The name UFS was no more. In an attempt to refresh perception of the game, it was coming into its own with a new name, UniVersus. Except that's not how it was really marketed. We're a My Hero Academia card game now. This is a bit of an odd one. While the game was marketed under the broad UniVersus umbrella, and old sets of UFS were compatible going back to 2017, that's not how it appeared to fans new and old. Fans were led to believe this was exclusively a My Hero Academia card game, which might have brought in a bunch of new fans, but it also might have alienated the old ones. 2 formats, one that included the old sets and one that was My Hero only, were introduced, and the mechanics of the new game were almost identical to the old one. But the flavor was different, and you can't please everyone. In spite of the chaos around this shift in direction, they completely saved the game. An influx of players led to distribution in stores like GameStop, something UFS couldn't have dreamt of before. ICV2 had the game crack their hobby charts, placing them with the big boys. The Nationals events were drawing over 400 people. The company saw this growth, and after rebranding from UVS to UVS Games in 2023, decided it was time to return to an expanded universe format. Suddenly, the influx of new fans who were brought in from My Hero Academia had all these other franchises appear that they weren't interested in. And it's hard to say how many of the old players that were alienated by the shift to MHA only actually returned. Despite the mixed reception, however, the game kept growing and evolving. What was once the tiniest little ecosystem has grown into a real player base, one that attends regional events and buys out product. And growth is always good, right? Right? Despite the commendable bounce back of their game, UVS is still a small company. That comes with logistical issues as demands pile up and things get a little more difficult to manage. So why don't we throw a gigantic IP into the mix? Entering 2025, UVS Games announced they were partnering with Riot Games to launch an upcoming League of Legends trading card game, which would become Riftbound. But don't worry, UniVersus fans, the game isn't going anywhere. But it's understandable to think that UVS would shift their priorities to this golden goose of an opportunity. And while Riot designs the core game mechanics, UVS handles the everything else. When it comes to the hot new TCG Riftbound, UVS is essentially a co-producer and handles all the heavy lifting. They're involved in deciding the print run based on player demand. When there's a disappointed customer because their super rare chocolatey covered fudge coated ultra shiny card came with a tiny scratch on it, UVS acts as fulfillment to handle customer replacements. To prevent those instances in the first place, UVS works with the printing facilities to ensure quality control. They oversee the localization process for translating and rolling out new product to overseas markets. UVS is the sole executor of organized play, designing, funding, and setting up tournaments and other game nights. They aren't some tiny 5-person team or anything, they have backing, but damn, that's a lot. UVS is carrying the weight of a massive franchise and popular IP on their shoulders, and when you combine all of the logistics like that, it starts to make sense how every trading card game that breaks the 2-year curse is a miracle. This heavy load has manifested itself in more ways than one for UVS Games, leading to player dissatisfaction on one side and player worry in another. I'm going to borrow a phrase used by Millennium Games, whose video is an excellent dive into the topic, and I highly recommend you go check it out. We're talking about catastrophic success.
It's not the game is bad, it's not the publisher messed up, it's that the product works, but it works too well and it works too fast. So what happens because of that is suddenly you can't get enough boxes, single prices skyrocket, sealed is immediately above MSRP, customers accuse stores of price gouging, retailers who wanted to get on board can't get on board, and players get frustrated and they bail in the middle of the process because the game hasn't even had a chance to stabilize yet.
And there was no end of shortages, delays, and other fulfillment issues during Riftbound's year 1. This can possibly be attributed to UVS, used to operating within a smaller scale, doing their best to keep up with the explosive demands that a large IP card game requires. But ramping up in scale has its ramifications. Collation issues were a huge problem, with some packs containing too many rares, while others were missing the advertised guaranteed amount, being labeled dud packs by the community. It's when problems like these crop up when UVS gets stretched its thinnest as they try to rectify the problem. I would believe that the vast scaling of such an empire would require even more growth from UVS Games. More employees, more investment in company infrastructure, more! Growth is good. This was an opportunity for UVS to move from being a small fish in a little pond to a whale in the sea. But again, there is risk. And the risk stems from the fact that they don't really have any control over their situation here. You see, UVS is under contract with Riot Games in order to help produce this card game, and while they've done an admirable control in getting things together since a very rocky release, if Riot decides to move into a different direction, then you have to remember this is a cutthroat business. UVS could find itself in a precarious position. All this new infrastructure eating up company finances and no game to justify it. UniVersus on its own with its niche following wouldn't be able to support the company post-Riftbound, so it's possible downsizing would be the play. Again, there's a reason why they're doing this. I think the risk is huge, but the payoff is probably immense for the games company. Imagine how they could thrive if they're able to maintain Riftbound for years to come. But where would that leave UniVersus in the future? I mean, where does that leave UniVersus now? The UniVersus community has feelings about this perceived lack of attention. Despite a steady stream of releases, from Attack on Titan to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to the most recent Godzilla set, players have voiced frustration with an accessibility barrier to gameplay, event logistics using card I/O being buggy and frustrating, and the same thing that gives the game appeal: the mishmash of IPs leading to an immersion break. There have been other bumps in the road. A cheating scandal at a tournament that revoked all webcam play support going forward. Gamers gonna game, I guess. The proliferation of Attack on Titan sets in a short time period, as well as a mismanaged and bloated first set, put even more people off. It's not been an entirely smooth ride. That said, the community members I spoke to and who gave me some insight into the game, who were not shy about their opinions, all spoke highly of the team at UVS. They felt it was made up of a group of passionate people doing what they can as stewards of the game to provide a great community experience. It's just drumming up interest for others to join that community that's been a challenge. IGN, who normally focuses on video game content, posted a trailer for their 2026 roadmap, a great way for the game to receive exposure to the masses. And there was visible excitement amongst commenters eager to pit Godzilla against fighting game legends, until they realized it was a card game. Therein lies the issue with UniVersus. It should appeal to everybody, but it continuously shows that it only has appeal to a small amount of people. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Again, this game is celebrating its 20th anniversary. Maybe not consecutively, but considering all the trials and tribulations it's gone through, that's a humongous achievement and should be celebrated. It truly is the cockroach of card games, surviving every challenge thrown its way that a card game could be thrown, to still be with us today. But the company's expansion of operations is a risk, and time will tell to see if the risk pays off for them. After all, what good is entering the ring if you're not gonna throw a punch? Oh, hello, tiny me.
Hadouken!
Ah!